Hey everyone, to all the people that joined, we're just trying to get the live stream set up for the people who can't make it, but we'll start in just a moment.
All right, hey everyone. We're just gonna be starting as people kind of trickle in. So yeah, thank you everyone who joined today, and we're gonna be presenting and listening to speakers about Meet the Blind Month. That is happening this month, October 2024, and yeah, it's hosted by two youth-led nonprofits, Jdable and Mission Site. And I think Sophia can start off with Mission Site.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name's Sophia. I'm the co-founder of Mission Site. We are a youth-led organization fully run by high schoolers, and a lot of what we do is focused on visual impairment education and awareness. And something that we've been recently transitioning to is partnering with schools to support children in school systems and facilitate more inclusive communities within schools. And we do a lot of initiatives, especially through social media and podcasting. So Anne Mock was actually, who's one of our speakers today, was featured in our first podcast episode. You can listen to it on Spotify. It's called The Insightful Podcast. But we're really excited to partner with Jdable to host this webinar today.
Great, thank you. And my name is Umang. I'm the founder of Jable. We are a nonprofit R&D engineering based firm focusing on bringing technological advancements to special needs populations around the world. We want to create new products through technological advancements, like wheelchairs and keyboards. We're going to continuing to improve our products. Our first school, actually, we work with Preeti's school, Silver Linings school, blind school, and yeah, we're transitioning to make definitely many more products. And yeah.
So the point of this event was to honor Meet the Blind Month, which is like Umang said in October of this year. And it's celebrated every October, and it really promotes an understanding and awareness of blindness and other visual impairments. And it just encourages interaction and connection with blind individuals just so that people can get that sort of exposure to become more aware of what it means to be visually impaired and understand that that is such a spectrum. So a lot of times Meet the Blind Month will feature events like demonstrations, public education, and advocacy, which is why we wanted to host this webinar, which we will also have a video of after so that we can continue to make content with these clips and really spread awareness that way to honor this month. And it really just overall aims to break down misconceptions about blindness and visual impairment because there are a lot of them out there, and to highlight the achievements and the capabilities of the visually impaired community. And with that, our first of two speakers for today is Anne. I'll let her introduce herself as well, but if everyone wants to listen after this event to her TED Talk called Blindsided, please go do that.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Jdable. Um, and thank you everyone for joining us here this Saturday in your time zone. Um, my name is Anne Mock, and I am an Asian female. I have highlighted brown hair. I'm wearing a cream colored sweater, and behind me, my background is white, and I've just got some flowers there. They're fake because that's just the easiest way for me to take care of them. But I am a content creator, advocate, uh, published author and speaker, and I happen to be blind. My journey begins really when I was younger. I live in Canada, just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and my parents immigrated to Canada when I was 2 years old. Growing up, I was always trying to fit in some way, culturally, and I always also had a sense that something wasn't quite right with my vision. Um, but as immigrant parents, they didn't uh, challenge the doctors or ask the doctors anything. I just wore, thick Coke bottle lenses. Um, and for me, that was my normal. And I didn't do that great in school. Like I managed to finish school and everything. Uh, but I was like terrible in sports. And I just thought those were like me things. So as I got older, I got married and had kids, and I was starting to notice my vision really deteriorating. Uh, my kids were in their busiest season of their lives. They had hockey, swimming, taekwondo, and I was driving them around. And I just couldn't see the things that I know I'm supposed to be able to see, like those street signs that I'm all too familiar with. And even the license plates right in front of me, I couldn't see them. So I started going to the optometrist, and in here in Canada, we are able to go to the eye doctor every 2 years. And I would go like clockwork, and I would keep saying to the optometrist, I can't see, but I know I'm supposed to be able to see. And he would check my eyes and say, your visual acuity is just fine. If you want, we can like up your prescription, but like there's really no change. So, I would leave the appointments and feel very confused. And time continued to go on, and I was losing peripheral vision. There was someone in a crosswalk. I couldn't see them off to my side. And it wasn't until my car was getting up close that I realized, oh no, like there's a person there. And so those things started to really stress me out. Um, and I also was having night blindness as well. So I would leave for work really early to avoid rush hour traffic, just make sure there's like less cars on the road. And then I would stay even later at work. Same thing, trying to miss rush hour traffic. But it got to the point where I knew that there was something wrong. I knew that there was something that wasn't right. And it took about 8 years. And I finally, the optometrist, it was the same thing over and over. And then about the 8-year mark, I said to the optometrist, maybe if I get contact lenses and maybe stick them right up against my eyeballs, maybe I'll see better. But actually, it turned out that I actually saw worse. And that's the point where the optometrist decided, I'm going to send you to the retinal specialist. But I finally met with her. That was the first person that said, I believe you. And that was actually a relief to me. And it's something that I longed to hear for a long time because I honestly felt like psychologically, I was having a problem. The day that I got my diagnosis, I got diagnosed with cone rod dystrophy, um, was the day that I signed a contract for my dream job. And I didn't know, honestly, where my life was going to take me or how long my vision would deteriorate. Or so for the next 5 years after that, I led a double life. Nobody at work knew that I was losing my vision. I had told family and friends, but they were empathetic, but they didn't understand because I could see, but I couldn't see. I could still do very well in my job. I actually excelled, and I was actually a nursing assistant in the procedure room at a fertility clinic. And the way I excelled was by muscle memory. And because the procedure room is so organized, I always knew when things were out of place. So I would be always be the one that would be like, "Hey, that's not quite right." And the doctors thought I was awesome. My coworkers thought I was awesome. They thought I was this great employee because I came to work early and I stayed late, and I was the perfectionist. And then I realized that towards the end of the 5-year mark that I it was getting worse and I needed to step back. And I asked for accommodations at that time. So I moved from being in the procedure room to a desk job. Um, and that lasted for a few months, but then suddenly, January 1st, 2019, I woke up with this migraine-like headache that I actually still have today, and it's always at the back of my head. I have a grade 4 out of 10 pain, and it's something called new daily persistent headache. So it's basically when a headache starts suddenly and doesn't end for more than 3 months, and so that's what I struggle with today. I'm no longer able to work, and I'm not no longer able to work because of the chronic pain. With the vision loss, cone rod dystrophy, it affects, number 1, the cones first and then the rods second. So those cells at the back of your retina, those are the cells for me that are dying. Cones that take in light and color, and then rods that help with our night vision. So my world really crumbled at this point. I ended up being bedridden for about 8 months because of my chronic pain. And during that time, I really noticed the struggles of the visually impaired community and those with chronic illness with websites. And then the pandemic hit, and we became more reliant on website accessibility because we needed to order everything in. And I felt like I needed to do something to make a difference. And also, small businesses were struggling. So then that's when I started my Instagram account at Purpose in View. And I really wanted to show that you can make content as accessible as possible. So that was my goal and my mission. And I chose Instagram because it's a visual medium. And I wanted to break stereotypes. Growing up, I didn't see anyone that looked like me using a white cane. And those times that I was living a double life, I had a white cane, but I hid it in my backpack and I wouldn't take it out because of the stigma. And that's something that I want to change and I want to bring more awareness about is to embrace your mobility device um, and break those stigmas, break those barriers, and change what blindness looks like. Because there is no one look for blindness. We can walk down the street and you come across people you don't even know what invisible disability they have. And that's especially with vision loss. And there's a lot of misconceptions about blindness that we see only darkness. Um, there's some that have loss of total lack of vision, and there's many, many others that have just varying degrees of sight. And so for me, I see blurry. I can still perceive light. Um, I can still see colors and some shapes, although they're distorted. And so that's how I navigate my world. Um, as I was on Instagram, it uh, started to take notice of the sighted community. They started to notice me and be interested in what I was doing. And I think I just became an accidental influencer at that time. But I thought this is a great time for me to use this platform uh, and use and leverage social media to really change those perceptions. So a lot of the people that follow me on Instagram are sighted and half are visually impaired. And I have a lot of teachers that follow me, a lot of people that just generally want to try to understand. And I really try to make content that allows people to understand what we're going through, how we navigate life, and that we're just like everybody else. I still love the same things. When I started Instagram and I was wanting to support small businesses, I still love shopping. So I would buy stuff and then I would, tag the businesses and really support them. And that's how I grew. Uh, Things really evolved quickly. I started to get speaking. Um, Gig, and then I got a real high from that, and I thought, "Well, I'll just apply for a TEDx." But I just wanted to figure out, like, what it was like. Uh, but to my surprise, I made it through. I made it through all the interviews and everything, and did really well. So I was able to do my TEDx in 2022, and this year I've spoken on stage for a large female entrepreneur conference. I walked on fashion show runway, um, and I got named as one of 15 of Google's rising influencers with disabilities. And I just came back from a conference in Princeton, New Jersey for Healthy Voices, and it's a conference for global advocates. And I spoke on accessible advocacy. So uh, things have really changed, and I think the biggest reason why it's changed is because I've embraced exactly who I am, heritage, and also embracing my blindness and really loving my white cane now. My white cane, I cannot live without. I love bringing it out. I have one that's like got a roller tip, so I like to go fast, and then I have a fancy one that's all like bedazzled. So, um, and I love changing people's perceptions about disability, blindness, and what we're all capable of. And I think for me, continuing to go out, even if it's just going to the grocery store, going to restaurants, every interaction is a ripple effect. That how I can change, and it gives a chance for me to educate as well because I am open to questions, and um, if people are curious and often they just don't know, and I think that's where the big piece of education and awareness comes into play. Um, and so that's why I really moved by the work of Mission Site. Educating the next generation is really critical. And on Mission Sight's website, there's a quote from Dr. Miles Monroe, and it says, "Vision is a function of the heart." And to me, that is so true. It's really a deeper vision that shapes who we are and how we experience the world, regardless of our physical limitations. And the blindness has opened new doors and experiences, and insights and people that I would have never thought of or experienced without being on this journey. I've met the most incredible people, really, and I think it was all meant to be, and I'm embracing it. Um, and my journey with vision loss it really starts with resilience at the root of it, empathy, and a desire to bridge that gap between the sighted and the visually impaired community. Um, with Mission Sight's dedication to educating the next generation, they're really shaping a future where everyone, regardless of ability, is seen and valued. And when we teach our children about disabilities right from the beginning and that they don't define us, that's how we can really empower a world where differences are embraced and inclusion is the norm. So this work is more than awareness. It's really about culturing fostering a culture of empathy where everyone is expected, regardless of how they experience the world. Um, for me, living this best life, um, accessibility in by digital tools is essential for me. Traveling, I love using Google Maps. It has the Google Lens where I can point it and scan it in the area that I'm in, and it gives me these big giant arrows that I can follow. And I love being the leader versus the follower because then all my friends are like, "Wow, that's cool." So they come and follow me, and I know where to go. And it's got verbal cues, and it helps a lot to explore the world. Especially like I've done more traveling this year, and I just feel more confident in exploring new places, going to different cities, and just really enjoying and appreciating it. And of course, using my camera phone to capture all of those. And I may not just see it in that moment, but I have all my photos to look back at. Um, I'll use ChatGPT to help me do image descriptions. And I think all those things that we can use um, can really enhance and um, really make our life so much more richer. Um, I think that's, let's see, lessons about vision loss. Um, I've learned many lessons, and some have been really challenging moments, but mostly of deep connection, I would say. And that's really what's shaped me of how I am today, and made my commitment to advocacy for inclusivity and accessibility even stronger. Uh, and self advocacy is essential. Uh, it's not easy. Even having worked in the healthcare field for a long time, it took me that long to continue to self advocate and finally get the diagnosis that I needed. And it can be very uncomfortable, challenging these symptoms, but there's vulnerability in asking for help. So just keep going, keep advocating yourself. Um, And that's where the resilience comes in as well. And really, like each challenge, and we know with our disabilities, I think we are the most creative people because we are problem solvers, and that's something that we should really be proud of and use it. So I think those are the things that have really helped me in this journey and this path. I'm really excited to see what continues to happen, and because honestly, each step, unfolds into something that I honestly never would have dreamed of before. Uh, so yeah, you have any questions? I'm here to answer any.
Thank you so much, Anne. That is a very inspiring story, and I think that everyone here can learn a lot from it, whether sighted or not. I just love your messages of hope and positivity, of embracing disability, and disability does not define people. And I think that's
Absolutely.
extremely powerful. So I would like to open it up to questions. If anyone has any, if not, or if they want to ask them later, that's totally fine. But if anybody does have a question for Anne, feel free to type it in the chat or just unmute yourself. But yeah, so we'll wait for just a moment to see if people have questions. But if not, there's other opportunities later on also to ask questions. Oh, someone typed in the chat. I just wanted to say I'm so inspired by your determination. Thank you.
Thank you. And honestly, it's you, the community, everyday people that really inspire me and that push me to keep on going. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you to the people who have shared in the chat. Again, if any questions come up, feel free to type in at any point and we'll pause to ask them later on. But for now, I think, Umang, if you're ready to move on to our second speaker of the day.
Yep. And before I start, and I just want to say that's a really inspiring story, and I love to hear these types of stories. They're really encouraging, and yeah, thank you so much. Sophia, do you want to go to the next slide?
Yes. There you go.
Great. So yeah, our next speaker, Preeti Manga, is from New Delhi, India. She's the founder of Silver Trust, which is a blind school located in Delhi. She's one of the India's she is India's first blind aerobics instructor. She's a motivational speaker and counselor and has awards such as the national award. So, but I'll let her introduce herself a bit more. Uh, so yeah.
Um, how should I say? Good evening from India, Delhi, and good morning to everybody, all time zones. So, hello, and thank you for having me on this beautiful show. And Anne, you are just superb. I'm motivated and inspired by you. So, thank you very much for sharing. So, here I go. I am, as I said, from Delhi. Let me start from the beginning. Um, I was discovered blind when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And this too was from my school. I was going to a school in a very remote place at that time, which was northeast India, Agartala. And from there on, my eyesight, I could see a little bit, I guess, because I did not know I was blind as a child, right? And my parents also couldn't figure it out. And slowly, when the teachers complained, they took me to the physician who discovered that I have hardly any sight at all. So the most important thing that happened to me that my parents did take me from doctor to doctor and all that for the treatments. However, they did not change their attitude or their behavior towards me, and they did not allow their trauma to change the atmosphere of our home. And for me, everything was normal, and they both put together continued to bring me up as they were doing before they discovered I was blind. And that instilled, kept my confidence intact. However, the world continued to push me down. And fast forward, I don't want to take too much time over my childhood, but when I was 13 years old, I went to a normal mainstream school. I was not put into a blind school at that time. I was born in 1959. So those good old days, everybody kept me in school. But however, when I was 13 years old, I was thrown out of school, and only on the pretext that I was blind, that I must be put into a blind school. And that too did not happen because there was only one blind school in those days for girls in Delhi. We had come back to Delhi, and that was in such a poor condition that my parents did not want to put me in the hostel. So they just said that they would bring me in as a day scholar, and which was refused. So bang, stopped my formal education. I was put to learning music because it is a myth, or it is a norm, I should say, that anybody that is blind, God gives the sense of music to this person or this child, so you can become a musician. So I honestly did not understand that, because I guess I was not at that time music minded. I liked music. However, because I was so underconfident, and by that time, being thrown out of school, I was so depressed, so dejected, so down, very, very low, that I couldn't even speak, forget about singing, vocal music. So I chose to learn the sitar, and a dream was planted by my parents in my heart that I can become a music maestro, a sitar maestro like Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, and the world will soon recognize me as someone to reckon with. And with that dream in my heart, I started to work hard, and I kind of practiced 8 hours every day for almost 8 long years. And at the end of these 8 long years, I was told by my teachers that I could become a music teacher, but I could not become a performing artist because I just did not have the um, gift of creating music. That was a another very big setback in my life, because by that time I was nearly 20 years into my life, and uh, I was at a complete roadblock, and I went into really deep, dark depression. However, and with this time, I want to also tell everybody that my mother and father, they trained me to become a complete human being, from personality to cooking to being a homemaker, to be a socially aware person, to be learn everything that any girl in our family was being taught. They taught me everything. So I was accomplished, but there was no place for me in the world. And then one fine day, when I was, in my depression and in my sorrow, uh, the story of Helen Keller flashed into my head. And I told myself that, look here, she had three disabilities. She could not speak, she could not hear, and she could not see. And I, as Preeti Moga, only had one disability. So I actually scolded myself that, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. That, Helen Keller with three disabilities, and in, that far back in time, she became a world personality, and she did so much. So I had no excuse. And that actually uh, made me dare to dream again. Then from there on, once again, I thought, now that I'm all grown up and ready to go, so let me get married. And I was absolutely shocked to learn that nobody wanted to marry a blind girl, a blind young woman. In our country, nobody wanted to marry me because I was blind. Everybody, a lot of people wanted to be my boyfriends, but when the question of marriage came, they all disappeared. so, so I thought that I have failed at practically everything in life. So I'm not going to fail at this one. So I started to hunt for my Mr. Right, and finally I did find him, and I did get married. I was about 22 at that time, and I did get married, and lo and behold, within 2 hours of my tying the knot, getting married, I realized that this was the biggest mistake of my life. I had married, I discovered that I had married a compulsive liar. He turned out to be an alcoholic, and he turned out to be an abusive human being. And my life went from bad to worse, and it couldn't have got worse. And I was hit with so much shock that my brain became practically numb. It stayed that way, and I continued to suffer without understanding what was happening to me, what I should do, because I was just failing and failing. And in this period, I had two children, a daughter and a son. That was a gift, actually, a beautiful gift. And I also had an abortion in between. So I really went through a lot of health issues. And finally, when I also saw my children being abused by my ex-husband, I realized that, I didn't want to live anymore. I lost the will to live, and I thought I'm going to commit suicide. But then, looking at my children, what will happen to them? Who will look after them? They'll become a burden to my parents probably, or I don't know what will happen. So I also planned that I will kill them and then kill myself. Howsoever, I failed at that as well. This was a complete failure of a life that I was going through. I couldn't even do that. And actually, now my children say that, good job, mom, you didn't kill us. So we are all up and alive. So when I realized, now I can laugh about it, right? So when I realized that I was in such a terrible situation, if I have to live, I can't kill myself, and I just couldn't leave the world without, my time having come. I wanted to at least live a life of dignity, a life of self-respect, and also I wanted my children not to be ashamed of me. They should be at least proud to be my children. So I realized that without economic independence, if I was not going to become economically independent, I am not going to be achieving anything, and I would be slipping down again. So economic independence was very important, I realized, and it is still important, because whosoever will feed us, we will have to live life on their terms. So it took me 2 years to realize or to understand what I should be doing. I had no skills, right? Hardly any skills except being a homemaker and a good mother. And I knew how to type, an ordinary typewriter at that time, and that was the only skill I had. And sitar music was out of the question. So finally, I started with thinking that I would take up being a housemaid, but nobody would engage a blind housemaid. They did not want, probably people wouldn't want a bull in a toy shop or a crockery shop. So finally, after a lot of thinking and a lot of pain, I hit upon the idea that I would become an aerobic instructor. And that's what I did. And at that time, Jane Fonda was very popular in the US. With her aerobics, and one of her time people, Veena Merchant, she came to India from the United States, and she opened classes here in Delhi, and also she was on television. So I kind of hounded her and sat in her office for 3 hours, convincing her that she can make me an instructor. And she said, we don't know how. Even in the US, there is nobody who is an instructor who's blind. So I said, you teach me, I will learn, and I will teach you. So finally, because she could not get rid of me, and I was adamant, so finally she said yes. And next morning when I reached her class, she opened the door and she said, oh my God, you've come. I said, yes. And within the first 5 minutes, I fainted because I had no physical activity experience in my life. And then she again told me that, please go back. This is not for you. So I just wiped my face with my t-shirt and stood up. And I said, I'm going nowhere. And that's the time she said, okay, Preeti, I'm going to train you. And within 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I was ready. And she handed me her own class to teach. And I've never looked back. I started my own classes, and then I started to find my feet. I started from there. I realized that what I have discovered, I would want to share my life with others, and I ended up this is in 1987. I landed up at the National Association for the Blind Delhi, and I started to volunteer with children, with parents, and there I started my work, creating awareness. Fast forward, I continued to do this, and also I had to earn money somehow. So what do I do? How do I go about it? This was just voluntary work. And then finally, a friend of mine, he was selling pickles in the company. So I told him, I said, please give me a job. They said, no, we can't give you a job. Why? Because you are not educated. You don't have an MBA, so you can't get a job. So I told him, I said, okay, can you give me pickles? I will sell, and then you give me the commission. So I did that for almost a month and a half, and I sold pickles to everybody I could get hold of, going door to door, going shop to shop, standing on the roads, selling pickle, going to kitty parties, going to wherever I could. And when I gave the money that I had collected, the next morning, the company called me that please come and take over as marketing and sales manager. So I said, why now? So they said, well, you have sold double the amount than the 5 sales representatives who we have employed. They have sold half the amount of pickles that you have sold, and you sold in cash. So come on, you have something going. So that was how I started my journey. And In the meantime, then I continued to volunteer, create awareness, write articles. Fast forward, I filed for divorce quietly because we were not allowed to file. I was not allowed to file for divorce because in India that's a big taboo, and those days it was a very big taboo. But I quietly went and did so. And well, coming forward, there have been lots and lots of other challenges. So I finally did get my divorce. I remarried, and everybody again discouraged me. My children were growing up, and my parents were a big support to me to help me with the kids. And I had a roof above my head, but I needed my own space. So finally, I met a gentleman who was working with us as and I found that he was just amazing. And so, although he was single, he was 10 years younger to me. He was 27, I was 37. And I just took a long shot and I asked him to marry me. And after 22 days of nagging him, he agreed. So this is, we've been married now for 27 years. And along the line, now I want to come to the work that we do. So Silver Linings was registered. I was working from 1987, but Silver Linings as an organization was registered in 2006. And I continued to work with blind women, with various organizations, howsoever, in employment, in counseling, trauma counseling. But I realized that there is very little quality and comprehensive education which can turn blind into productive citizens is not happening to the level it should happen. So to tackle this or to counter this, in 2017, my husband left his corporate job and joined me. I also left my job, and we started Project Shiksha under Silver Linings, where Umang is mentioning. This is a preparatory school and resource center for blind children. We are focusing on the blind girl child because girls are very much more marginalized. And me being a girl, I can understand how much a girl child has to suffer because she's blind. So I have nothing against boys. If I have the resources, I will give that much more to the boys as well. So we started this small little center, and we trained and we prepared little girls and children, and then we admit them into mainstream regular schools. We support their education there. We drop them, pick them up. We have a hostel facility also for girls who come from far away from us, from Delhi, and they stay with us also. So we're practically bringing them up. And we're very, very, very happy that some of our children are doing extremely well, and we teach them not only Braille and other, tailor frame and all that, but we, even at 3 years of age, we start them on technology, teaching them to use a laptop. And our mission is that the children should be absolutely independent in today's time. So, well, I think I have taken a lot of time, but here I would also like to, yes, Umang, I did mention that I was very surprised when I was awarded the national award by the President of India, and many, many other awards kept coming my way. That is just to encourage me. I mean, that's all that I'm happy that people have acknowledged the work that I do, and people are walking along with us to take this forward. And now we are opening a center in Chandigarh, and it's really in its nascent stage. We are opening a technology center there. And as the resources come in and as things happen, we are going to be setting up a preparatory school and resource center there as well, which will serve 3 states of that region, Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal. So we'll be able to serve the underserved over there. So that process is on. And I'm a published author. 2 of my autobiographies are published. One is called Flight Without Sight. This has been published in 2018 by Hay House, India. And one is published by Rowley Books, which is called The Other Senses in 2012. So anyone who would like to know more about me, just go to go to Amazon or to the net, and you can read my books. And so I'm going to stop here. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring story. Like listening from you going from your bottom to like now where you are with this blind schools, 2 authored books, and these awards. So it's really inspiring. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna open it up to questions now as well. If you guys want to, if you guys have any.
Yeah, I think I'll go first. I just have one quick question for you, Preeti. So from your talk, it's clear that in the past, attitude and stigma towards blind people has been very negative, and I know that you've done a lot in your power to try and change those stigmas and kind of ideas towards blind people. Do you think that overall within India, the attitude has changed very significantly, like in a systemic way? Or do you think there's still a long way to go? And in that case, where do you think resources can best be allocated in order to have the most impact on people?
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you for asking this beautiful question. From when I started till now, yes, there has been a change towards the positive. There has a lot of people are trying to come up in life, and a lot of people, a lot of things, attitudes are kind of changing. I cannot say that 100% it has a large impact, but within the mindset is still, there's a long way to go, and hence the more we are out there, the more positive stories are pictured, and the people see reality, and the more we get quality is put into our education systems and our growing up systems. There's a long way to go. Yes, there's a long way to go, because employment of persons with vision impairment is a real problem. It's a very big problem. Nobody wants to hire us as well. This is not because of the only the mindsets, but also the quality of all-round education. There has to be a lot of work that needs to be done. So the resources have to be put into empowering. Actually, I want to answer this in a very simple manner, that I was trying to break my head, trying to change the perception towards a blind person or blind people, but it was not happening. So I went back and hence started. I am not an educationist. I'm only class 10 high school pass. And myself, I'm not a good teacher, but I started with the beginning so that I can train the children when they're small, and as they grow up, they will come up in a 360-degree manner. They will come up in all areas of their lives, and when people see them performing, people will really understand that they are losing a very good manpower source by not giving a good opportunity to blind children, blind people, especially children. In fact, I would like to just add here that one of our first students, she joined us. We found her in the community from a very underprivileged home. She was totally blind, and we started working with her when she was, thrown out of school because of her blindness. We taught her everything, prepared her, admitted her into school in 2017 itself. And in 2023, she has taken her high school board exam from CBSE, and she wrote her exam by herself on her laptop, and she got 92.2% marks. and today she is in class 12, and she's aspiring to, be an IAS officer. So that it's amazing. She's being awarded from everywhere, and she's really, really someone that is a possibility. So when people see her, then people say, oh, wow, I need her. I want her to be with me. And same here, when I was looking for employment for people with blindness, I have visited probably around 400 corporates in and around Delhi to find places for employment for people with blindness, right? But the HR community just turned around and said, we will take people with other disabilities, not blind. So I told them, I said, you are telling me to my face when I'm totally blind that you won't take somebody blind. So they would just, all of them said this one thing, Preeti, we are willing to give you a job, come and run our organization, come and be, one of the senior leaders here. So I said, no, well, I don't want to. So what did that say? The capability on one side is the only way we can change perceptions. And that's why we are, in our small way, because of lack of resources, but still, I'm not saying lack. I mean, they will come, and whatever we are doing with our whole intention and heart. So I think it will change, but a lot needs to be still done. A lot is there. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer to that question. And if anyone else has any questions for either Preeti or Anne, feel free to unmute or type it in the chat. Yeah.
I actually have a question for Anne. How do you see AI as a tool, and how do you see it impacting the future of visually impaired individuals?
I think honestly, it's a very powerful and very useful tool for the blind and low vision community. I know that in working with Google's products this past 6 to 8 months, the power of AI in just doing tasks and organizing for us is so helpful. They've used AI in a lot of their Google Meet products to help us with the live captions, um, and just being able to translate those. Like, you could take your phone out and have a conversation with someone that maybe in a different language, but it's captioning it there. Or and I use a lot of AI in helping me to put my thoughts together and create content. So I think that it's so helpful. I think with technology today, um, it's going to benefit us the most. What I would love is, if systems were made easier, like right from the get-go. Like, I don't know why, like with Instagram, their Instagram stories are still not accessible, but like if we can build those systems in right from the beginning, I think we can go really, really far. And I think it'll just help us in the long run as well.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Yeah, I definitely think AI is gonna have a big impact then. Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, if not, we can move on to our last slide. Thank you all for staying throughout the whole webinar. But here is the contact information for Jdable and Mission Site. So our emails, our social media accounts, and our websites. Feel free to screenshot this or take a photo of it, and you can always reach out to either of our organizations at any time. And if you have any more questions for our speakers, we would gladly put you in contact with them as well.
Yeah, and we just want to say, yeah, thank you so much for coming. We'd also If anybody here today, we want to thank you for coming out. So as a reminder of this webinar, we want to give you a certificate for joining and showing your advocacy for disability rights. So email us to get that certificate.
And I just wanted to say to Preeti, thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing and continue to do. You're changing the path for so many people and really, really helping those young girls. I could just feel myself in that situation and thinking like, wow, if I had something like that, I think it would help me a lot. So thank you so much for giving such light to these young girls.
No,
That
thank you so
anything is
Thank you
possible.
so much. Thank you so much. And I think that it is so important for having conversations. And I thank our young hosts. I think they're just brilliant. The moment I heard Umang asked me to come on, and I said, yes, that's the way to go. Because you young folks are the ones who are going to take the baton forward. And thank you so much, guys, for having us. And it was lovely meeting you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you, Sophia and Jdable, for being such incredible allies to the community. This is what we need, and it's so appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you guys one last time for
much, yeah.
joining. And I see we have a lot of people typing in the chat, thanking you and Preeti as well. I think this was an incredible event, and we're excited to get some content out on social media about this for the people who weren't able to be here. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Bye,
having us.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.